My name is Miriam Rostami. I'm on the board of YAY, and I want to welcome all of you to what I hope is our first annual fundraiser at YAY. So let's make it happen today, folks. Thank you, each and every single one of you, for being here. I think as a board member, I feel particularly invested in YAY and in the mission of serving transition-aged youth. I became involved with YAY a couple of years ago. I was working in an architect's office where we did primarily affordable housing, and my boss said, look, I'm going to go to this meeting, and we're talking about this shelter and its expansion. I was like, I'm going. He said, I'm not going to pay you. I said, I'm going. Let's get, I'm going to the meeting. So I kind of invited myself along on a feasibility process around the expansion of YAY. And I talked to a lot of the stakeholders, and I became more and more invested throughout the course of this research project in the expansion of YAY and what it might look like in the future. So here we are making the future happen, as it were. And so each of us is in a position to continue to foster the expansion of YAY. So that's really fabulous. Thank you all for coming again. And I'd like to thank right now Pizzaiolo and Charlie Hollowell. I don't know where you are. Actually, I've never met you. But if you're here, Charlie, if you would raise your hand. No, not so much. But thank you so much, Pizzaiolo. And all the staff here have been working super hard to bring to us a lovely dinner tonight. I think that we're all going to enjoy it. So I'm your MC. Again, I'm Miriam. I'm not just, I was trained to be an architect, but I'm a performance artist and a writer as well. And so I am really nervous right now, though, I will say that. And I don't have anything really prepared, but I am your MC and or shepherd for the evening. I have no real other cause but to kind of come in between the speakers and introduce them briefly and kind of try to make sure you're having a good time. A little bit, maybe a little bit. Please do feel free to go get a drink. Right now, while the speakers are going on, please feel free to make a silent auction bid. So you'll see along the back wall there are a bunch of really amazing items that are available, including, let's see, where's Min? One of our fantastic organizers and board members. Min, where are you? I was hoping that I could get a board member up here to introduce a few of the items. There are a lot of fabulous items. I read them. I'm so nervous I've forgotten almost every single thing that there is up for auction, but it's a lot of really fabulous things, guys. Please feel free to get up at any time during the talks and make a bid. So without further ado, I'd like to just give an overview of the evening. We're going to start with some speakers, and we're going to eat. Somebody really fabulous is here whose name is no doubt attached to many people's instantaneously changed moods. John Scharffenberger, chocolates. I mean, I have to say, saved my attitude a couple of times, for sure. So I'm really curious to see what he has to say about the world of chocolate, the world of wine, of which he's also an expert, and the world of soy, which he's now semi-new into, I suppose. Susan Halpern, who is the board chair, is here, and as is Sharon Hawkins Leyden, who will give us a wonderful talk as well. So without further ado, Susan, if you would join us.
Thank you, Miriam. Miriam is also a wonderful member of the benefit committee. And I get the pleasure of welcoming you and saying hello and looking around this beautiful space at a group of people. We never thought we'd really get 120 people. 120 people who care about the youth of Berkeley who would otherwise be homeless. To be surrounded by people with hearts is truly a joy for me, and I hope you all take it in as well. You are people who have recognized that homelessness is an issue and that here in Berkeley, in our way, we can make a difference. And we thank you for coming and supporting us in this effort. I get to thank all sorts of people. A thank you to Ray Lifshay, who helped arrange all this. He's a board member. And thank you to the benefit committee, as I said. And then a group I'd really like to honor are the volunteers. We rely on 150 people to help us get the food together, the service, clean up, oversee the showers, and some of you are here today, and I thank you. And I would like to thank the youth for their contribution and, as I say, trusting us to come to us at night, but they aren't here yet. But look around, and in the course of the evening, you may see some of our alumni who are now part of the Youth Council and are therefore staff at the shelter. All of you are now donors or ready to be donors, and we thank you for that. We cannot do it without your help. The individuals, foundations, churches, synagogues, you come forward and you find us, and we thank you. Now, and some of you are new. You've never given before. Some of you are longtime supporters. We need all of you, and there's more envelopes around tonight. It's a great occasion on which you can again express your support, and we will thank you. We have an amazing staff. You will find the board and staff are the people wearing the name badges, and they are the people you can ask questions, what and who we are, what we do, how it's gone, how these 9 years have been, and how we've changed, and how we're going to open this year, year-round, for the first time, with your help. Make it happen. Make it happen. We had a big meeting Thursday, and there was a consensual agreement that no one was to be named from the board and staff, and hands weren't to be raised. It's a much more egalitarian group than that, and so I rely on you who aren't wearing badges to find those of us who are and make some contact. And if you want to join the board, just speak to me. The committee's been amazing. The committee's for the event has been composed of board and staff members, and the staff have just taken all kinds of initiative and follow through and made this the event that we are now witnessing, and I thank you. And the board, each of you with your different varied skills and talents and interests, come forward each in your own way and help in the planning and the policy and the program development of the organization. And this is a nice chance for me to say what a pleasure it is for me to sit with you in the circle of our work. Now, my special treat for myself tonight is I get to honor 4 amazing people who are the founders of our organization, and I would like them to please come forward. Adrian Bank, Natalie Limecooler, Sarah Isaacson, and Sharon Leyden. And if they're dying of embarrassment, just look away. You know, they're going to have to handle it. It's just the way it is. And I get to tell the founding myth. Would you go in between? Okay, Adrian, come next to me, and then Natalie, and then Sarah, and then Sharon. Thank you. These are the pieces of the puzzle and the steps. Adrian moved here from LA about 10 years ago, 11 years. Was walking around downtown and felt it was a crime to see young people sleeping out in the rain in a city with the liberal, compassionate people that exist in Berkeley. And she looked around and said, I got to do something about this. And someone said to her, well, there's this woman, Natalie Limecooler, who's working at the chaplaincy, which was organized by some churches to do a day program. And Natalie has been working with people who are homeless for a very long time. And then they needed a space for the youth to sleep. So they went to Sarah Isaacson, who is the pastor of the Lutheran Church of the Cross. And I believe her bishop is here. Bishop Mark, you may raise your hand. You weren't at the meeting. And Pastor Sarah organized her church to accept and make a priority this youth program for 18 to 25-year-olds who would otherwise be homeless. And then Adrian knew Sharon, who's worked with people who are homeless for ages and was ready to become a director, administrator, leader, beyond words, of our new organization. I wasn't there yet, so I shouldn't say our. And Sharon has been our leader for 9.5 years and is taking us into this new period. Now I want to say more, because when I get a mic, I go for it. Adrian, the first years, Adrian's a strategic planner. She's had many jobs, many degrees, and was a strategic planner, but we also needed someone to organize the volunteers. And so she sat on the phone every day getting some buddies in there to make sure there was food and people to show up and help in every way they did. And Natalie, who manages the plant, the stove, the exhaust fan, the showers, her husband helps her. She has truly another talent, which is photographing the youth. Is that photo board here, Willie? I haven't seen the photo board. Anyway, Natalie takes photographs of the youth that capture who they are for themselves and how we see them, how they might see themselves, more than just a picture. She finds their soul and prints it. Sarah Isaacson was very involved in the beginning years with our program in every way possible. But what I really credit you most for is the work you do with your church and keeping your church on board to have the dogs and the all that goes on with having a youth shelter.
You have to explain having the dogs.
Having the dogs. We are a shelter that allows people to bring their pets, and sometimes it's more than dogs. It's rabbits, kittens, rats on a leash. These are, after all, adolescents. And Sharon brings to the program a breadth of vision that is quite astonishing. The ability to see what's going on politically in the city, the state, the country, and keep her eye on that and move us into right action, right speech with those organizations, as well as having finely honed exquisite clinical skills in her relationships with each of the youth. And I thank you for that, Sharon. Now, if you would hold this, the board has tokens of our esteem that I have to get from the corner.
Oh, my goodness. Well, now that you have the mic, Adrian, isn't there something you'd like to say?
Sure. You know, at the bottom of our logo and our stationery, at the bottom of our logo and our stationery, we had this quote from Margaret Mead that said, you know, a small group of people can make change. That's the only way it's happened in the past, and it's the only way it's going to continue to happen. And this kind of 10th year anniversary is absolute witness to a small group of people becoming a bigger group of people, and a bigger group of people making change the way it needs to happen.
So this is for you, Adrian. You want to say a word?
Wow, that's so cool. Thank you. What? It's not pink.
Yes, you may go now. Where's Sharon's? Sharon, here. This is for Sharon. You are all priceless, and we thank you so much for this dream. Oh, you want to do it? Someone very important is here. There should be one more. There no more? There are two important people here, or three, and hundreds. Letteria Fletcher. Can Letteria come forward? I don't know where Letteria is. I'm so glad you got here. Good evening. Letteria was our first employee and is still with us. Letteria has gone through social work school during her time at Yale and is now our title?
Clinical case manager.
Lead clinical case manager, senior and therapist. And she started as a night supervisor, and that year, for various reasons, as a social worker, I supervised the night supervisors, but Letteria taught me everything I know. And I am so pleased that you are here and joining with us and with the founders. Look at 120 people. So, and I think Sharon wants to say something too, Letteria.
You'll have to excuse me, but I might read something, and Letteria is really going to excuse me. I always know that the situation has gotten out of control and overwhelming when I hear a deep laugh coming from Letteria. I know at this point she is juggling too many demands on her time, too much drama with the young people, and too much worry about the consequences of the hardships of our youth's lives. I know at this point a lesser human would maybe scream, quit, or look for another job. And whilst those are all very real possibilities, the thing that sets Letteria apart from anyone I have ever worked with in the past 25 years is her sheer dedication and tenacity to the youth. She cares about what happens to them more than she cares about what happens to anyone, including herself. So she repeatedly shows up when she doesn't have much left to give. She repeatedly shows up to push the organization to really do what it says it does. And she repeatedly shows up to tell me and others what we need to do to make it happen. Whilst this can be challenging at times, I have learned over the past 9 years working together with Letteria to trust her implicitly. It's rare to find a deeply committed person with a clear vision of what's needed, who's ahead of the curve, who speaks up even when it's not PC to do so, who challenges everyone to be better at what they do. But Letteria is that rare person. The reason Letteria can demand this of me and of us is because she demands it of herself. She asks nothing less of us than she does of herself. One time she told me she wanted to be the best therapist in the world. I tell you, she's the best therapist I have ever met, and she has a long way to go still. She changes lives every day by getting people to believe in themselves when no one has ever believed in themselves. She once told me when we were having a difficult conversation about race and privilege that I had no excuse not to work harder because she knew I could. She brings this out of everyone, and in so doing, she makes the world and us a better place to live, and we sure need that. So today, as uncomfortable as this may make Letteria, I'm sure I will hear about this, we honor her for her 9 years of service at Yay, for her dedication to our youth, for making the agency and its mission better, and personally, I thank her for making me a better leader. I give you Letteria Fletcher.
Hi, Gabriel. This is an unexpected surprise, and I'm shy, except when it comes to advocating for our youth. Every day they inspire me and they amaze me and they give me the courage to keep pushing forward. So every day I'm grateful for what I get to do, and that's really how I think. I don't think, when I talk about what I do, I say I work for the youth of the city of Berkeley, and that's how I see it, and that's how it will always be, because they inspire me on a regular basis. So I feel very fortunate, and we have some youth here, and I'm wondering if they would also like to come up and say something. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. Really close like this. Can you hear me? My name is Jonathan Vita, and I was in the program. I actually lived in a shelter over there at the Yay in the church for about 3 months. And then I moved on to go into other shelters when the Yay had closed, because it used to only be a certain amount of time that it was open. So I went to a different housing, and eventually I got my own housing, and I was able to better take care of my daughter and stuff. You know, it's really hard for a lot of youth living in this urban area like the Bay Area and a lot of places when, you know, a lot of us come from no homes and having no family and things like that to really actually help propel us and give us the confidence that we need to really grow. So, you know, the Yay kind of turned into like a family for me and like a background to be able to help me to move forward with myself and my dreams and everything that I wanted to do, and thought that it would be so easy. But when it comes down to reality and you start having to really actually put in the work, you start to find out that you do need people to help you and stuff. So, yeah.
I'm Susan Halpern. I'm the chairman of the board. And I'm here to welcome you. No. I'm here to introduce the Honorable Mayor Tom Bates, who is familiar to all of you, I'm sure, because he's so involved in our city. And Tom's invited because from the very beginning, he knew about us, cared about us, and supported us. And I hope you'll tell whatever your story is of those early years, Tom. And I am so glad that you're here. You're like a founder.
Susan, thank you very much. Well, for me, I got to meet Sharon and other members of the board who came to see me just after I'd been elected mayor. And they came in and they had these wonderful ideas and these wonderful things they wanted to do. And I thought, oh my God, oh my God. You know, they said, we don't need much money. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is, you always, you know, we know people like this who are dedicated, who care, who want to make the world a better place. They're going to change things. And all I could see was, you know, it was like, I think they wanted $15,000, and which didn't seem like a lot at the time, but I think, oh my God, in about 4 or 5 years, they're going to want 100, then they're going to want 200, then they're going to want 1,000, you know, a million, you know, but it was, for me, it's such a wonderful opportunity to be a mayor of a city like this, to have people who live here, and like yourselves, and people like the board of Yay and the various people who work at Yay who really care, who really are interested in making our community a better place for people to live. It's so inspiring to go into Yay and have a chance to sit down with the young people. In fact, I was really taken aback when I was there, because I did not realize how many of the kids who were in the Yay shelter, who were having food there, were kids who had aged out of foster care, My heart just went out to these kids. I mean, what are they going to do? They don't have the skills, they don't have the opportunity. A lot of times they had really ups and downs in their lives, and you know, Yay is there for them. All I know is that once I'm done with public service, and I'm really interested in trying to work more closely with foster kids and try to work with them to be able to be a mentor and a guide for some of those kids, because they really need the help. They really need the stability. So all I can say is that Yay is fabulous. They do such a great job. I'm so happy that they're in our city. I'm so happy that you guys are all supporting them. And together we'll make sure that this 10 years will look back and say, gosh, 10 years from now will even be much, much better. So thanks for coming, and thank you very much for the privilege of being your mayor.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Tom has been a public service person for his whole career in both the city and the state, as you know, and is already looking forward to his next phase, it sounds, where he will continue to serve. The next item, the next element, the next wonderful moment that is coming to all of you is that Sharon, and you've heard her speak a little already, so you know what a treat that is. Sharon Hawkins Leyden, our executive director, is going to say a few words, and I am so looking forward to hearing you.
Good evening. The accent is British, so you don't have to worry about whether I'm from Australia or Ireland or any of those great places. So I will say some words a little strangely, if I can see. As Yay enters its 10th year of operation, I am struck by how the times have changed. 9 years ago, it seemed obvious, with some effort, maybe naively so, that we could provide a warm, safe place for youth to sleep off of our streets. And with some more effort, those same youth would be able to engage in meaningful and productive lives. Over the past 9 years, this has in fact happened to hundreds of youth. Perhaps it's taken a little bit more than some effort, but it's been happening. But it's getting more difficult to sustain every year, and that's because the times have really changed. As you know, the world is rapidly changing, and it seems to be getting more and more uncertain as to what the future holds. In fact, we might be witnessing some real game changes. We are surrounded by the global implosion of the financial markets. Europe is on the precipice. And here in the United States, we seem to lunge from crisis to crisis with little political will to solve our problems. The writer Michael Lewis of Moneyball and The Blind Side fame couldn't be here tonight as he's on a book tour. But I just read his latest book called Boomerang: Travels in the New Third World. He looks at the financial catastrophes of Iceland, Ireland, and Greece. He lays out in detail how much financial trouble those countries are in, especially Greece. And in the last chapter, Michael turns the lens on the United States. He interviews an influential Wall Street analyst, Meredith Whitney, who has spent the last 2 years researching and ranking each state in the United States into zones of financial security and financial crisis. Meredith wanted to get a sense of who in America was likely to play the role of Greece. To quote Michael Lewis, "So Meredith, what's the scariest state?" She had only to think for about 2 seconds. California. Michael goes on to document specific examples in California and uses Vallejo, which is a bankrupt city 21 miles from here. Now, you might be wondering why this has anything to do with Yay. Well, what we have been witnessing at Yay is a microcosm of this. In the past 4 years, there has been a decline in funding. First, we watched foundations implode. And now we have felt the slow trickle-down effects from the federal government to the states to the cities. The city of Berkeley, as committed as it is to safety net issues, no longer has the resources to provide for all of these services. In the San Francisco Chronicle last week, the cost of living increased 19.8% in Alameda County since 2008. With cities cutting funding to nonprofits, or even if funding remains constant, the cost of doing business has increased at least 20%, while income has stayed static or dropped. This means that to provide the same services, it costs more each year. The other factor we see is as governments give out less money, the expected outcomes increase. 9 years ago, Yay provided shelter to 100 youth. Now we provide shelter to 100 youth and are expected to house 30% of those youth in permanent housing within 60 days of entering our shelter. So, what is the need like these days? Last year, we saw 131 different youth, and our intake closed after 1 month. We saw many more youth showing up to eat food at dinner time. We saw the cost of a 1-bedroom apartment rise to an average of $1,200 a month, and youth employment in the United States right now is 18.4%, double the national average, and it is 31% if you are an African American youth. Still, 33% of the youth that come to our shelter have not finished high school. And still 40%, like Mayor Bates said, are straight out of the foster care system with nowhere to go and no one in their corner. And astonishingly, 82% have no source of income at all. So we have the worst combination: shrinking resources and greater demands than ever. So, am I pessimistic? Sometimes, but not right now. You have all taken your precious Sunday night and paid good money to come here because you believe in this mission. We stand at a crossroads as a society and as an organization. We need a new way forward. We cannot continue to write grants and spend grants, although we will do that, but it is too precarious as a long-term strategy. We need to find new ways to generate money. As Dr. Paul Farmer says, the poor needed to be included in this process. We can no longer afford on any level to provide everything to our youth. Our youth may not have the education they are entitled to, but they are incredibly talented, and if you haven't noticed, have lots of energy. We need to train them, teach them, deploy them to create businesses and generate incomes. We need to provide them on a daily basis with the skills they need to succeed in this uncertain future. Keeping the shelter open year-round is a crucial first step in this model. Now we will be able to work with the youth to make individual action plans. Each youth will be paired with a staff member to set goals, report progress, brainstorm solutions, and have their own personal cheering squad. Each youth will do chores that are skill acquisition based. Each youth will be held accountable to their goals, not to ours. In return, Yale will need community champions such as yourselves, people who will again step in to volunteer and to mentor in the shelter 12 months a year, not 6. We will need financial champions who will pledge money yearly, and we are launching a campaign in the coming months to ask 100 people to pledge $1,000 a year for a minimum of 5 years to fill in the gaps that our city and our state can no longer afford to do. We will need advocates who will explain to people in our community why it's so important to work with our young people now, not 10 years from now. To that effect, we will be hosting community forums beginning in the new year to bring diverse community members together to talk about new ways forward. Yale has always had this vision. This is not new, but the times have changed, and we need to step up this vision now. Unlike 9 years ago when 4 women naively held hands in a city of Berkeley elevator and actually asked the mayor for $9,999 because they said you can't get more than 10. We have 9 years of experience. We know what works for our youth. We know how to do it. It's important work. It's potentially life-saving. It's possible to make a difference. It's possible to make changes that last for a lifetime. Tonight, we are making it happen. I thank you all for your efforts over the last 9 years, and I ask you to please stand with us as we enter the next crucial decade. Together, we are better. Thank you.
So, Sharon is somebody who has really inspired me in the past, and I'm sure that she just touched each of you. I'd like to encourage all of you who are standing, if you want to take a seat, we don't have very much more talking left, but if you'd like to come and have a seat over there or up here, there's plenty of places you can take this opportunity to have a seat. I'm a little less nervous now, so I'm ready to say a few more words. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the people on the committee that made this event happen. So that's the board, the benefit committee, the staff members at Yay. Thank you guys. This wouldn't have happened without a lot of people working really hard to make it happen. So, as it were, making it happen. I want to encourage you all who are kind of to please go back and make a donation. The point of this evening is to have us all together. It's to have us bidding. We've already fulfilled part of the point, which is selling tickets and raising money. But I think one of the other and possibly more important points is to plant the seed of Yay and to to really make an impression about this particular population that Yay helps. I mean, I'd like everybody to think back at when you were 20 years old and how you were developmentally. I mean, I'm here to say when I was 20, I was making some mistakes. I definitely am and was privileged to have support, and I was in college and I was in a dorm. I was not yet really an adult, and I feel like the larger world maybe has a hard time understanding that there's a reason why developmentally 18 to 25-year-olds are usually in institutions. It's because it's really hard to know the difference between your rear end and your elbow when you're between 18 and 25, just still working it out. And so the population that Yay serves is incredibly sensitive and incredibly overlooked, in my opinion. So on a lighter note, let's talk about some chocolate. Is John Scharffenberger in the house? Hi. I was just going to say about you, and I said this before, and I don't know if you heard me, that you're an expert on chocolate. And I mean, I have to say probably each person in this room has had an experience of instant mood shift with the word Scharffenberger on the outside of it. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Ms. Scharffenberger.
Well, an instant mood shift at this point would be difficult, but I'll give it a try. I remember when I was 19 or 20 and I was sort of a late bloomer, and I was living here in Berkeley, and I mean back in the late 60s and early 70s, you know, I was thinking about what was happening in the world. You know, we were going to hell in a handbasket. We're in the middle of a horrible war. You know, the biggest thing we had to do with the university was to really avoid getting tear gassed during the day. I mean, and I learned to climb redwood trees, because if you climbed a redwood tree, the gas would go under you, and it was a kind of a, you know, thing you did to protect yourself. One of the other things, I mean, I remember I had mentors who were wonderful. One went on to kidnap Patty Hearst, and he was a wonderful man. He was killed in the shootout, and you know, so you know, it's a different time right now, but these are all times like this. And I've got to say that when you're at these vulnerable ages, looking at an uncertain future, I've got to say that organizations like Yay are just, you know, incredibly important to taking care of mitigating those uncertainties for kids. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to be here and helping out with the mission of Yay. So I moved sort of back to Berkeley when I started making chocolate here. But why did I make chocolate? I mean, I've got to say, as I said, I was sort of a late bloomer, and I was very you know, I just wasn't sure of the world. I didn't know what I was doing here, you know, being a person. And I learned that very early on that if I planted seeds, and I learned how to plant seeds to marijuana, that they would grow. And I could give marijuana to my friends, and it was like a useful thing. And it was like, wow, God, this is so nice. You know, I actually have worth as a person. I can do something. And I mean, I think the next year it was tomatoes. And it wasn't too long before, you know, I wanted to start a commune with my friends and become probably truly homeless by, you know, moving to the country and growing all of our own food and doing this stuff. But what it did is it got me really tuned into what I ate, and how attached what I ate was to what I grew. And so that became really the thread that I had to my life and to my universe. And it's been a really wonderful thing. And I think that that's really the key, you know, for a lot of kids, is to be able to have something. And I think I was just very lucky to find horticulture as my key, as it were. It gave me something to do as a job, gave me something to study. And so I became a grape grower, and then lately, after that, I decided to make wine, and I didn't know what I was doing at any time. And I think that's the other thing, and I think that's one of the things that comes with a bit of privilege, is, you know, you don't care that you don't know anything. And I think that the confidence that comes from you know, programs like Yay is that it gives kids confidence to move on. And I think that's the really critical point. I didn't know how to make wine. I didn't know how to grow marijuana. But I learned. I did it because I felt the need to do it. And I didn't know how to make chocolate either many years later. So when my business, a good friend of mine was diagnosed with cancer, he decided to learn how to paint. and to learn how to play the piano and to learn how to cook. Well, he was a great cook. He couldn't play piano or shit. And anyway, and his paintings were really horrible, but he had a really great sense of taste, and he was a sweet guy. And one day he said, I really want to make chocolate. And I said, do you know how? And he goes, no. And I said, can I help you? I don't either. But I thought it was such a great idea. So together we basically read some books. What do you do? And talked to other people. The people in the chocolate business at the time told us that we were really stupid. That nobody had started a chocolate company since 1943. And they were going out of business. So what would we do, that would add to things? And we just said, well, but all the chocolate that we like has too much, you can't get it. It's made in Europe. And so we want to make a chocolate that we can drink, eat all the time. And doesn't have so much sugar in it, and it tastes great. So we just did it our way. And that was the wonderful thing. We knew a little bit about cooking, a little bit about winemaking. We put those things together at Scharffenberger and just decided to make a chocolate that we liked, not that you liked. I mean, hate to be selfish, but that was really what it was about. We decided to make something for ourselves, assuming that other people would like what we liked, and so that's really what we went about doing. So we bought some old machinery. We leased everything. We rented everything we could. We had very little money, and we paid ourselves, nothing really for the first 3 or 4 years. And it was a really wonderful thing to be able to put things in people's mouths. It was kind of like going back to the marijuana days, where God, they loved it. God, it's so nice to be able to help people. And my tomatoes were actually better than my marijuana, we could do something that really made a difference, that really made people happy, and it was a real joy to continue in this business, and we did, and we moved to Berkeley in about 2000. It was difficult to be here, but I've got to say, Berkeley. You guys did a great job of helping us. You made it easy to start a new business, and we did. And so it was a real way to thrive, and being welcomed into this community was wonderful. And to be able to come back to a town I knew and loved was really a pleasure. So we grew and did everything we could. And then, out of the blue comes these guys with suits. And, they just said, we love what you do. And we said, what do you do? And they said, well, we support an orphanage and a school for children from disabled households, get by in the world, kids from foster homes, kids from split families. And I said, well, what else do you do? They said, we make chocolate. We're from Hershey. And that's what they do. The 30% of the profits from Hershey go to support the Hershey Foundation Schools, which is a school for underprivileged kids. It's a high school, and it's a residence high school where they take kids and actually, grow them up in a farm family in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I wouldn't want to live there, but these kids are from all over the Midwest, and it's a wonderful thing. And we thought, what great guys these are, but what shitty chocolate they make, whatever. And they decided they wanted to buy our company, and we said no, and they doubled the price, and I said no, and then they doubled the price again. I said, oh God, I was such an idiot. My brothers, my mother, all these people put their faith in our company, and my business partner, by the way, his cancer went into remission the entire time we were making chocolate. It was really wonderful. And it was starting to come back, so it was really problematic. So we sold the company in 2005, and they haven't really messed it up too badly. This chocolate still tastes good. It's not very well marketed and sold as it used to be. We're going to have a little tasting of it later on. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what I know about chocolate. But, in a way, the one thing that made us work with Hershey was the fact that they weren't run by some faceless, horrible corporation. It was run by a company that really had the beliefs and ethics that both Robert and I shared, and it's been a real pleasure to work with them and to continue to be part of that. So it's really nice to be here, and it's really nice to be with a group of people who are investing in the future of America and the future of our society, and basically the biggest asset we have is kids. And all kids, I mean, I don't care where you're from, are really important for the future. And if I had thought that we even had a future when I was 18, you know, I'd be crazy. I mean, I thought, you know, we were about to fall off the edge of the earth. It kind of seems that way now, but, you know, it seemed that way then too. And you know, here we are. So there you go. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's because of people like you and people like Ye that I think this world is a better place, and it's really fun to help. So thank you very much. We'll talk later about chocolate.
Thank you so much, John Scharffenberger. So after dinner, there's going to be a marijuana tasting. Oh, I mean chocolate tasting, and hosted by Mr. Scharffenberger. And so, really quickly, I want to say you can get marijuana growing lessons with the raffle. Just kidding. But the raffle tickets are $5 or 5 for 20. So do that. And some of the items that we have for sale / raffle include ice skating, fabulous dresses, fabulous homebrew, haircuts, lots of wonderful things. Folks, dinner is almost on. So really, really quickly, just to close, I'm going to be doing the raffle announcements later. And I just, I had like an anecdote or something I'm completely blanking on, I think, because I'm hungry, and I think you all are too. So enjoy the rest of your evening. We're here to spend money and for Yay. So that's why we're here. And enjoy, and I'll be around. Talk to me. Bye.